Anaka, and thanks Dr. Chitra and AOS for having me here. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you see my slides and can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So, viral keratitis is a disease entity which is seen by many ophthalmologists, all ophthalmologists, in fact, not just cornea specialists. So, everybody has to have a working knowledge of this entity. What are the viruses which commonly cause keratitis? The commonest keratitis that we see is adenoviral keratoconjunctivitis. You can see the picture on top showing the classic aftermath of nummular corneal scars. The picture below shows you herpes zoster ophthalmicus, which is a rare clinical entity with its tiny dendrites. But the focus of today's talk is going to be HSV or herpes simplex virus keratitis. Why? Because not only it is a common viral infection that we see of the cornea, it is also a blinding eye disease. HSV type 1 is the common cause for corneal infections, and the virus generally affects organs above the waist of the body. And HSV2 can cause infection in the form of conjunctivitis in a neonate who has passed the birth canal of an infected mother. So what are the clinical categories of HSV keratitis? HSV can set up a primary infection in the eye. This occurs because of external contamination and usually is characterized by a pink eye with sticky discharge, which may or may not involve the cornea. But once the virus travels back retrograde and it establishes its infection in the trigeminal ganglia, then when the host responses are down, then it can cause a recurrent infection. The recurrent infection is usually in one of the layers of the cornea, the epithelium, stroma, or the endothelium. The blepharoconjunctivitis usually does not manifest as a recurrent infection because that form of infection comes from outside the eye. So even before we go and see what clinically the various presentations of this infection can look like, let's get our head clear about some of the terminologies that we use in the context of viral keratitis. Because say you want to call out some of your friends from a crowd, then you definitely have to know their name. So there were confusing terms like interstitial keratitis and necrotizing keratitis, which are a little grand, but a little confusing, which were used in the past. But now we have the AAO guideline, which I've quoted below, which is the basis of most of the facts in my talk, which has made it very lucid for us to understand the nomenclature. If the virus affects the epithelium, then it is epithelial keratitis. So this encompasses dendritic and geographic keratitis. When it involves the stroma, it could be with ulceration or without ulceration, and that is stromal keratitis of HSV. And when it goes down and involves the endothelium, then it is HSV, endothelial keratitis, or keratouveitis. Pretty simple, isn't it? Because this nomenclature is going to be involved in every step of the way that we are going to discuss this disease. So the first form of the disease is the setting up of the conjunctivitis. After that, the virus involves the cornea and causes superficial punctate keratopathy. This is nothing but viral involvement of the epithelial cells in the cornea. And these cells, they infect one another in a contiguous fashion and cause a linear branching type of lesion that you see in these two pictures and with the fluorescein stain below. This is the classic dendritic ulcer of HSV keratitis. It is characterized by a branching linear lesion. It has got a terminal bulb and it stains with fluorescein. It has got an ulcerated core, which is very important to look for because it is characteristic of the HSV dendrite. And HSV keratitis is by and large a clinical diagnosis. Not much of lab investigation is required. So it is also to be noted that the border of this dendrite stains with rose bengal. The double staining that you see in the picture below is characteristic of viral ulcers, especially HSV dendrites. And the three instances in corneal disease where a double staining can be useful to you is 1 in viral keratitis, 2 in dry eye disease, and 3 in ocular squamous cell neoplasia. It's probably an exam question too. So we won't go on to the diversity of the stain right now. So here we see a lesion where it is bigger than the dendrite. It has got a configuration of a dendrite in a kind of a exaggerated manner, and it also stains with fluorescein. If you did stain it with rose bengal, the edges would stain with rose bengal as well. So this is the geographic ulcer of HSV, which is basically an amalgamation or a conglomeration of many dendrites. And because the dendrites have joined up together, the margins are scalloped. So the conjunctivitis, the SPK, the dendrite, and the geographic ulcer. So these form the various manifestations of the epithelial form of HSV keratitis. So knowing this, how would we treat it? So this table again is from AO, but the crux of this table is basically we want to use antiviral agents because like we already said, epithelial disease represents actual invasion of the virus. So you could use topical antivirals in the form of acyclovir ointment or ganciclovir gel. Acyclovir is not given over here because it is not FDA approved in the US, but we are lucky enough to have it over here. Or you could use oral antivirals in the form of acyclovir tablet or valacyclovir. Now, between these options, my personal choice has been acyclovir. It's been touted that ganciclovir is less toxic than acyclovir as an ointment, and orally, the renal toxicity is less with valacyclovir because it is a prodrug. But I've personally not seen too much of topical toxicity or renal problems in renally competent patients. So the choice would be to use topical antivirals first. The course of the disease is 2 to 3 weeks, and that is how long you want to give the antivirals. But suppose the patient is not compliant, or suppose it is an immunocompromised patient, and especially in the pediatric age group, then you may want to use systemic antiviral for epithelial disease. Now look at this ulcer. This ulcer is a little different from the 3 varieties of epithelial disease that you saw, isn't it? So basically, this ulcer, it looks at the first shot like a PUK, but how is it different? It is a little shallow. It is progressing or creeping towards the center. And over the course of treatment, which you can see in the clockwise arrangement of slides, with treatment, the ulcer seems to be resolving and it is healed completely in the slit picture that you see in the end. This is the HSV marginal ulcer. It is characterized by an epithelial defect. It spreads centrally rather than peripherally like a PUK. And the meridian of the ulcer may not correlate with the blepharoconjunctivitis that it is associated with. So, like we already said, blepharoconjunctivitis associated with marginal ulcer again is a primary infection with HSV. So, the previous speaker showed us staph immune disease, which can also cause a peripheral ulcer. So, this should not be confused with that because in the top panel, you see that the staph blepharitis is dry, whereas in HSV, you're having a sticky discharge and an inflamed conjunctiva. In the panel below, you're seeing that the staph ulcer has got a lucid interval and it is curvilinear to the limbus, whereas no such distinction or pattern is followed by the HSV ulcer. Why should you distinguish the two? We know that staph is immune in origin and therefore steroid forms mainstay of treatment topically, whereas HSV marginal keratitis is infective in origin. If you give steroid, you may actually end up worsening the disease. So these are the distinctions between the two that we already spoke about. Look at this ulcer. You saw it in the previous presentation as well. This is also different from the other epithelial manifestations in that the edges are rounded and the base is a little grayish. So this is the neurotrophic keratitis because of denervation during the course of the HSV disease. How will you diagnose it? The edges don't form any dendritic pattern and they are actually blunted and they refuse to heal, and there is a lack of the normal corneal luster in the base. You can see my beautiful artwork below which shows what nice healing epithelium should look like. The convexity of the healing fronts should be facing inward, but this ulcer has got rounded and thickened borders. You must be aware of it because otherwise you'll keep on pumping toxic antiviral medication and worsen the problem. So how do you treat neurotrophic keratopathy? Stop all unnecessary topical medication and copious lubricating eye drops, gentle debridement of the edges, not so much for diagnosis, but to freshen up the epithelium to heal well, and then you could also do a tarsorrhaphy. So moving on to stromal disease, you can see in these round of pictures that there is stromal inflammation because of HSV. This inflammation looks like cloudiness of the stroma, but if you see carefully, there is no epithelial involvement and the slit picture does not show too much of a clouding of the anterior chamber as well. So what is this? This is immune stromal keratitis where a little of the virus is there in the stroma and a lot of it is an immunological reaction. So this heals to form scar with treatment as shown in the picture below, which can be associated with vascularization that you very commonly see in HSV keratitis. But sometimes the healing can occur without a scar. So that is called the steel wool appearance. We are all very familiar with using steel wool for scrubbing utensils during the lockdown. So when it heals like this way, you see in the picture below with the slit beam that you have a scar with a net-like pattern, and this can be an imprint of past HSV stromal disease. So treatment of immune stromal disease, we've already said that there's less virus and more inflammation. So you have to use a therapeutic dose of topical steroid medication and a less or a prophylactic dose of the oral antiviral agents. The exact drugs and their dosages you can pick up later either from this presentation or from the AIO guideline itself. So by stark contrast, you see in this picture that there is a lot of infiltration, there is more inflammation, and it's an angry looking eye. So what is this? This is necrotizing stromal keratitis, or stromal disease with ulceration is the newer terminology. This is where there is equal measures of virus as well as inflammation. There is necrosis and rapid melting of the stroma, and this is a blinding form of HSV disease which has to be recognized and which should not be confused with other microbial keratitis. And because there is equal measure of virus and inflammation, you would want to give therapeutic doses of antivirals orally as well as steroid to start with in limited doses, and once the disease comes under control, you can hike it up. So the next form of disease working our way down into the cornea is HSV endothelitis, which presents in three classical forms. So you can have a corneal clouding overlying the endothelitis, which is disciform endothelitis. So you saw the stromal keratitis immune variety, and you're seeing this, and you may think that both of them are looking similar. But if you notice, there is a subtle difference that in disciform endothelitis, you do have keratic precipitates, and you will have endothelial guttate changes, and you have overlying stromal edema. The endothelial changes in the KPs are noticeably absent when you have only stromal involvement. Disciform keratitis can be treated with therapeutic dose of topical steroids and therapeutic dose of oral antiviral, because all forms of herpes virus or herpes simplex endothelial disease have viral as well as immune component in equal measure. So I'm not going to repeat this because the treatment would be the same for the other two forms of endothelitis as well. So you can titrate the doses a little bit based on the severity of the disease. So this is the second form of endothelitis, where you see linear arrangement of inflamed endothelial cells as well as inflammatory material in the endothelial layer. It looks like a dendrite, only difference is it is in the endothelium. And this is the linear form of endothelitis. And here you have the diffuse keratouveitis, where in addition to the endothelial involvement, you have keratic precipitates, and the slit beam shows an AC flare and cell reaction. And this is the variety which spills over to the trabecular meshwork and sets up trabeculitis, which is glaucoma commonly associated with HSV disease. In both cases, the linear as well as in the keratouveitis variety, the treatment is with a full dose of topical steroid and full dose of oral acyclovir medication. So now that we've understood the nomenclature and now that we have understood the levels of involvement, we can quickly recap how we decided to treat them. Epithelial disease, you have dendrites or you have geographic keratitis. It is infectious in nature, so only antiviral, mostly topical, occasionally oral. Stromal keratitis with no ulceration, it is largely immune disease. So more of topical steroid and less of oral antiviral medication. Stromal keratitis with ulceration, it has got the virus load as well as inflammation in equal measure. So you start off with a therapeutic dose of oral antiviral, start slowly, go easy on the steroid, and then you can decide to hike it up once the disease is under control. And endothelial keratitis, you have three varieties which should be all treated with oral antiviral therapeutic dose and therapeutic dose of topical steroid, and the dosages of which you can decide based on the intensity of the disease itself. Herpetic disease can sometimes present bilaterally in 25% of the cases. It is seen in immunocompromised individuals. So we know that viral infections recur. We saw some beautiful, dendrites and stromal edema and disciform keratitis and everything, but you see the two photos in the panel above, and this is recurrent HSV where none of this pattern is followed. HSV does not read the AIO guideline, doesn't see my presentation. So it presents like this when it comes recurrently. You have a little bit of ulceration, you have infiltration, you have vascularization. So what do you treat this as? So now comes the role of investigation. So normally it is a clinical diagnosis, but it is in recurrences like this that you want to scrape the cornea for diagnosis. The scraping, even though many tests can be involved in reporting, the important test would be the immunofluorescent antibody in earlier times, and now we rely on the PCR to tell us whether HSV is there or not. Mind you, PCR can show shedding of the HSV also. So it is the RT-PCR which can actually tell you whether there is replication of the virus, which can then decide the treatment in recurrent infection. A word about corneal grafting in HSV, not to do as much as possible because these are high-risk grafts unless the patient is visually very handicapped. You see in the panel below the two photos which show recurrence of HSV in the graft. How do you know that this is not just epithelial healing problem or something else happening in the graft? A couple of pointers. When you see the ulcer or the dendrite or the geographic lesion going astride the graft host junction on this side as well as that side, then it's quite likely that the epithelial lesion is a recurrent herpetic. Likewise, when you have keratic precipitates which also straddle the graft as well as the host on both sides, then you know it is not just a graft rejection, but the viral infection coming back as an endothelitis. So these are some mimics of HSV infection. Simple healing epithelial defect can look like a dendrite. Xanthamoeba, like Dr. Bhupesh showed, can present with pseudodendrites. Herpes zoster is also known to present with dendrites, but remember, it's a rare infection. It is unilateral. You can see the zoster marks on the face many times, and the dendrites themselves are very small, and they're not true dendrites. They're just cluster of infected epithelial cells. They have this stuck-on appearance, and because they're not true dendrites, they don't have the central ulceration or the terminal bulb that is seen in the HSV infection. And remember that keratouveitis is by and large immune. So HSV keratouveitis, if you have a confusion, an anterior chamber tap with a PCR is the way to go to make a diagnosis. So what are the studies that postgraduates need to know about HSV keratitis? The HEADS 1 and the HEADS 2 studies, the herpes eye disease 1 and 2. You need to know these for exam purposes. Until date, they are the largest studies available, even though long time has elapsed. I'm not going to go to the details because these are available aplenty in journals for discussion. They told us the role of acyclovir and steroid in treating this disease. But for practical purposes for treatment, the AIOS guideline has given it to us more concisely about how to name the disease in various layers and how to titrate the treatment based on the pathology involved. So before doing any surgery, especially corneal transplant or cataract surgery, we know that this is a recurrent disease. So the eye should be very quiet at least for 3 to 6 months, and prophylactic treatment is required before we embark on cataract surgery for these patients. So if they ask you in the exam, will you do LASIK in patients with HSV keratitis? There are some bold people who do. There are scanty guidelines. I am not such a brave person. And in the exam, it's not the first thing that you want to say that you want to do LASIK in HSV keratitis. And lastly, collagen cross-linking treatment seems to be a trigger for reactivation of herpetic eye disease and is also contraindicated. So basically, HSV is named according to the layered effect, epithelial, stromal, or endothelial keratitis. The treatment depends on whether the etiology is infective or immune component to the virus, and it is a recurrent infection. Prophylaxis is needed before any and every surgery in these eyes. So with that, I conclude my talk, and thanks to Dr. Chitra once more, and thanks a lot, dear PGs, because teaching is indeed the best way of learning. Good luck to you and stay safe.
Thanks, Dr. Radhika. You're an amazing teacher.